Let's see, that's 1 sugar and a splash of milk.
Right you are, Mr. Wilkes. I'll take a short break and get right on to taking down that old fence.
It's been needing doing for ages. Would love to have done it myself, but the old back, you know.
No worries, mate. Won't take me long. Looks like it'll be a straightforward enough job. Do you need me to pop round to the neighbours to let them know I'm starting?
I told her I was having it done. She's out at work anyway. Speaking of her next door, if you hit the scene of the crime, don't worry too much. Just make sure everything gets reburied before the boy gets home from school.
The what?
The scene of the crime.
I dare say there's a story there.
Oh, there is. So them next door, nice lot all in all, I thought. Got 1 kid, bit high-strung, but nice enough boy. The mum, Anne, pleasant lady, I thought, always smiling and asking after my daughter. I brought her some of my daughter's jam once, and the next day she's right over with a Victoria sponge. Never knew she could bake.
Oh, I love a good sponge.
So there I was, thinking, Wilkes, you're getting on a bit, but at least you have the kind of neighbours who'll drop off the odd sponge cake and are good for a natter. So weeks go by, and I don't really see any of them. Not unusual, as I said, they've often got a lot on. Anyway, I hear Anne and her boy Charlie coming home from school. Charlie's going on and on about her puppy. His dad apparently told him he'd think about it, but Anne's trying to put him off.
Can understand that. Dogs aren't cheap to keep.
I used to keep a few spaniels myself. Wouldn't now on account of my back.
I understand, Mr. Wilkes. Don't want to be chasing a spaniel round the park with a bad back.
Well said, oh dear, well said. So anyway, I come back from a visit with my daughter. Once again, weighed down by jam, so I thought I'd drop off a few jars. And well, if I'm honest, I was hoping a sponge or 2 might come back my way.
No harm in hoping for a sponge or 2.
Right you are. So I knock and she's all smiles and invites me in. Charlie's all aflutter, 'cause they finally caved in and got him a pet.
A puppy?
Well, no, not exactly. In the end, there's been a compromise, and the boy gets a gerbil.
Ah, I see. Well, that's a fair pet for a boy.
And to be honest, a lot quieter, too.
So this gerbil, what did the boy call it?
Nibbles. All right for a gerbil, I guess. The boy's bouncing off the walls. He's excited about the gerbil. Don't hear about nothing else after that. Well, until...
Until what?
Well, it died. I know gerbils don't last long, but this one must have only lasted about 3 months. I suppose it happens, weak heart or something.
Yeah, boy must have been distraught.
Distraught ain't the half of it. It was like the death of Di all over again. The boy dragged all his friends over to say some words, and there was piles and piles of flowers. God knows where they got them at 3 o'clock on a Sunday.
For a hamster?
A gerbil, but I get your point. Imagine it, if you will, a line of little children dressed all in black. Well, mostly. There was one child who had a Batman t-shirt, but I digress. They read a poem and played some music.
Amazing Grace?
No. Harry Potter, I think. Anyway, Charlie comes out looking solemn, and his mum is behind him with a shoebox that Charlie's decorated to look like a coffin. So they put it in the ground and chuck some dirt on it. Charlie's trying not to cry, and his friends are trying not to giggle. So then after all that, they all head inside for pizza.
Pizza at a wake for a gerbil?
Well, I suppose they had to find a way to convince the other kids to come over. I saw the whole thing from my garden. The boy even asked me to pop my head over and say some words. It was all a bit makeshift, but it was moving in a way. That boy really loved that gerbil. So imagine my surprise when Anne knocks on my door at 8 o'clock that night, asking to borrow a spade. And when I ask why, she flushes bright red.
Why did she ask to borrow a spade?
It seems, in all the excitement, she forgot to put the gerbil in the coffin. Charlie was adamant there would be a funeral, so whilst that was being put together, she put Nibbles in the fridge so he wouldn't start stinking up the house. She realised as soon as she picked up the box that she'd forgotten to put the gerbil in. She'd promised the boy wouldn't have to see the dead gerbil, and that she'd deal with it. She hadn't wanted to stop the funeral, so they'd gone through the whole thing with an empty box. Her husband had dug the original grave, and she didn't have the heart to tell him what she'd done. So she'd come to me for help. Well, what could I do? I lent her my spade and kept her company while she dug a new hole. I don't remember where it was, but it was close to the fence, so if anyone saw us, it just looked like we were having a chat. After all that, I ask her if she's going to say any last words for Nibbles. She stops, looks at me and says, "We've had enough bloody words about this gerbil," and just tips the thing in the hole. She kicked the dirt in and marched off.
Blimey.
I know. And I've not seen a speck of cake since.
That was Rodent Wake, written and mixed by Rebecca McCarthy, starring Zeke Alton as Wilkes and Tom Doherty as O'Dare. Find more at voiceacting.space or gameswriting.coffee.